It is a grey and overcast day. Inic Valosa and Ledelic Duval are heading back to their ship, which is set to sail just after dawn tomorrow. The landscape is scrubby and rocky, with the odd patch of brush or copse of trees. The druid says,
"You exploded with fury yesterday as you fought the giant scorpion. You were terrible, like a volcano."
The fighter replies, "Those mouthless thorn men brought back a terrible memory. The last time I had to fight for my life, it was against my own cousin. Well, that horrible thing, what was left of him."
"The curse of Black Tongue was upon Crusos. It was a dark fate."
"He was a symbol of House Valosa. Once mighty and proud, then cursed, betrayed, broken." Ledelic stops and looks at his comrade.
"I was there, Inic. The thief woman who was with us took the tome of Black Tongue and ran. I ran as well, but in terror. The dead that move can turn a man's blood to ice."
Inic picks up a stone and hurls it against a boulder. "I tried to track down that thief. Sindala was her name. She is either in hiding or she fled Vitus. Maybe we're all running away."
"I'm not running. I'm returning home. The elders will know that I failed. Everyone will know."
"I was planning to only go as far as the Typhirian colony. But what if I went with you to your island? Would your people roast me alive and eat me?"
"Yes."
The serpent carved into the head of the druid's staff seems to stare at Inic. "I'd better not go then. It would be a damned pity to flee the hardships in Vitus just to get cannibalized in Nival."
"You don't want that. First, the children eat your fingers and toes. Then their parents eat your limbs. Then the elders will eat your heart and brain."
Inic gives his companion a gaze of disgust. The Archai stands still as granite for a moment, then cracks. Inic breaks into laughter as well. "I actually believed you there."
"Ha! We wouldn't eat you."
Inic continues on. "Very well, good thing that."
"You're too hairy and covered in scars."
After half an hour of trekking by foot, the men are passing between two great escarpments. Giant boulders and rock walls loom from either side. A woman appears ahead. She is standing on a small platform atop a rock formation. She has long, wavy brown hair, a flowing gown, and a belt of dyed fibers with bronze adornments. In one hand, she holds a silver scepter. In her other, a bird with bright blue feathers. Inic halts and calls out, "Oh hey, who are you?" The woman calls back,
"You being outlander on my island, but you asking this to me?"
Ledelic holds up his staff.
"I am Ledelic Duval, shaman warrior of the Whitewater tribe. I shall speak with you, then I shall go on my way."
The bird squawks, and the woman holds her gaze.
"I not knowing your tribe or your strange face."
She then addresses Inic.
"And you, who you being, and why you stealing this wondrous shield of my island?"
"That's exactly why I'm taking it. Do you think I'd give a rat's ballsack about some rusted old thing?" laughs the woman.
"And your name?"
"I am Inic of House Valosa, slayer of giant scorpions and plant men, so you had best fear for your life."
"You, charming to me. I being Ayani of the Vale. I having to command to you. You will returning this shield to the crypt, and you will going to the feast with me this night, as pleasing to me."
Ledelic shakes his head.
"We cannot agree here. Ayani of the Vale. We can speak for a moment, then we must return to our ship.
Well, the feast part sounds appealing, and possibly the pleasure part too, but the shield remains with me. Ayani presses her scepter to her chest.
You would stealing from my island?
Enoch scoffs. Have you never heard tell of sailors? Exploration and adventure, plundering for glory and riches.
Then you hearing now of the grave danger in your plundering.
Ayani tilts her head and gives a sharp cry. From the high ridges to either side appears a group of men. Their hair and beards are wild, their skins have dark tans, and their faces bear looks of hostility. They're dressed in hides and furs, and brandish short bows, javelins, and rocks. At this point, the characters find themselves in a situation that does not have an immediate combat solution. Sure, they could attack Ayani, but the odds look nigh impossible with her band of warriors upon the high ground at both sides, not to mention whatever powers she may possess. This skill encounter is rated as a deadly challenge, which, like a deadly combat encounter, is a dire situation in which failure likely means death for one or more of the characters. While I generally do not tell the players directly this is a deadly encounter, I say essentially the same thing, just with more storytelling-minded words such as, you are severely outnumbered. The skill encounter draws inspiration from the important non-combat scenes I ran in D&D 3.5 and in Legendscape. There were also the skill challenges from 4th edition, which I feel really had potential, but unfortunately were not implemented quite right. At the core of the skill encounter is the philosophy that characters learn and grow from many types of challenges, not just killing stuff. First, there is a short moment to interact with Ayani. Ayani of the Vale, standing atop the large rock formation, looks down with smoldering eyes.
You refusing the feast of mine, being of my desire, and you refusing the shield's return to its place.
Enoch does not hesitate to respond. Listen, Mistress of the Isle, I'm not refusing any feasts nor desires. We simply cannot delay and have our ship sail without us. As for the shield, I won it by right of conquest. He is able to momentarily give Ayani pause. He and Ledelic can also choose to move. They decide to move ahead, around part of the rock formation, beginning in the direction of escape. Ayani then threatens to call up the fury of the Ocean Mother.
I shall calling to the great Falinera, Ocean Mother, whose storms rising and smashing travelers' ships by the sea.
Ledelic shouts in response to this.
And I shall call to the spirits of the coast and ocean to see our ship safely away.
The druid counters the threat, which again causes Ayani to hesitate, and size up the two adventurers before her. This also gives the men the chance to move. They continue around the rock formation, not wishing to remain. Regaining her wrath, Ayani calls for her men to attack. Raising her voice once again, Ayani of the Vale issues a series of shouts to her wild men. They knock arrows and aim javelins and rocks. Enoch and Ledelic decide to flee. Both characters failed a skill check here. Since this was their first failure, they are not going to perish or suffer an injury, but they do take damage as the wild men manage to land some hits. Now the characters must run down a slope of rocky ground in order to escape the passage that has Ayani and her wild men. Sweating, bruised and bleeding, The human and the Archai go rushing through the gauntlet passage between the ridges. Behind them, Ayani is shouting in her strange tongue, though Laedelic makes out that she is invoking the name of the sea goddess, Falanera. The ground is rocky and begins to slope downwards. They keep their footing as they speed down the sloping and rock-strewn terrain. The ridge fades behind them, along with the shouts of Ayani and her wildmen. The characters feel the wind pick up suddenly, and Laedelic warns of Ayani's threats to call up a sea storm. They decide to continue hurrying towards the ship. During this time, the characters can use a few actions if they desire. The characters reach their ship soon. They rush to tell the captain what's happening, to convince him that the ship needs to sail immediately. Inic and Laedelic are trying to catch their breath. Captain Marcos stands before them on deck. He is a pockmarked man with a pot belly, strong arms, and black hair tinged with gray. He is generally a jovial and reasonable fellow. Standing nearby is first-hand Felix, a salty old Verlishman who is doggedly stubborn. Captain Marcos strokes his beard, considering what he's hearing.
So, you swear that this woman you came across is calling up a terrible storm to smash our ship? Well, the wind has been picking up and getting colder.
Felix scoffs.
Bah! There ain't no one on this island. Certainly not no fair lasses what claim to command the fury of the Ocean Mother. Many of the men are still out hunting anyhow. We leave on the morrow.
Inic takes a breath and yells. Listen! I wasn't talking to you, Verlish dog! Captain, if we don't sail now, you can say farewell to your dear ship. Laedelic backs up his comrade.
Inic speaks truth. Do you want destruction of your ship and crew? Do you want to face the witch who jealously claims this island?
Captain Marcos nods.
We've already collected plenty of fresh water and finished one hunt. It is wise to sail on, at least to avoid whatever storm might be brewing.
Felix spits.
As you will, but you'll regret it when we're back down to eating hard biscuits.
At this point, Inic, Laedelic, and a few of the other deckhands must find all the crewmen. I see some over there, wrestling, throwing discus, says Inic.
And they're fishing.
Laedelic is scanning the shoreline.
Oh, see there, those clouds.
Indeed, far down the coast, off the side of the isle, the clouds are darkening. They seem to be slowly spreading from a promontory where a rock spire rises up high from the crashing waves, and the wind is also blowing strong from that direction. The two allies go out shouting, calling in the men, searching for whomever they can find. Inic yells, curses, swears, getting the crewmen's attention and spurring them back to the ship. A few men who are out of sight come running in at the end, making it on board at the last moment. Finally, the ship must set sail before the storm arrives. Captain Marcos is shouting orders. Deckhands are working the sails and rigging, whilst the rest of the crew mans the oars. The wind is increasing, and from the direction of the rocky spire, rough waves come, slapping and rocking the ship.
Raise anchor!
Yells the captain. Row!
Row, ye maggots!
Shouts first-hand Felix.
Let's put this rock to our backs.
Inic pulls at one of the oars as well, and Laedelic watches the sea attentively, giving words of counsel to the captain, Marcos.
Shut your mouth!
Felix barks at the Archai over the wind.
Make yourself a better use and get to an oar!
Meanwhile, Inic is heaving with the strength of his muscles, putting his whole body into his strokes. The ship makes a rough departure from the shallows near the island, waves smacking against her backside as she goes. The deck rocks and rolls, and the timbers of the ship creak, and here and there is the sound of the vessel taking some damage. But she escapes. By the time the rowers have worked themselves to near exhaustion, the furious Gasa Isle is well behind them, along with whatever secrets the lost enchantress left there. This concludes the second scene of Isle of the Lost Enchantress, with a successful skill encounter. A deadly encounter, even. As I mentioned in the prior scene, the Novaura setting uses a different system for character advancement. In this case, Innic and Laedelic each receive a deadly challenge success. In addition, Innic receives a lesser challenge success and inspiration for playing to his character flaws, even when it caused increased danger. This scene also serves to show how you can have interesting and intense role-playing without a direct combat encounter. In fact, I would call this even pure role-playing, as opposed to role-playing combined with a tactical combat game. Either way, you've gotten some short glimpses into Novaura. What could have gone differently in this adventure? Innic could have listened to Laedelic's warning in the tomb chamber. He also could have done as Ayani instructed and returned the wondrous shield he took. Perhaps even accompanied her to her feast and whatever else was in store there. But as we just saw, he stuck to his flaws of being brash, unwise, and even desperate. So what if Innic had acted in a way not congruent with his persona? Or you could say, what if Innic's player made decisions that didn't match Innic's character? Let's say having him act carefully and patiently, searching rooms like an investigator with a calm manner, or following the advice of the more level-headed characters. Well, this would certainly not be a cause for rewards or inspiration, but I would encourage the GM to talk it out with the player at the table, or even halt the player's actions and point out this discrepancy. If it came down to the player truly wanting to play a more patient and thorough type of character, there are many options for either having Innic go through some character development scenes, or even rolling a new character. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you're enjoying. Make sure to keep looking out for new videos that are following in this vein, and more announcements to come regarding Novaura and other projects of mine. This is Esper saying until next time, and may your adventures be many.